7 signs that someone close to you secretly hates you. Don't ignore these red flags. Have you ever felt like someone in your life doesn't truly like you, but they never come right out and say it? Maybe it's a friend, a coworker, or even a family member. They smile, they nod, they might even laugh at your jokes, but something feels off. You can't quite put your finger on it, but deep down, you sense that their warmth is just a mask. They never say anything outright cruel, yet their words carry an edge. They never openly root against you, yet their support always seems a little insincere. It's a strange, unsettling feeling, isn't it? And what makes it even more frustrating is that you can't always call it out. If you ask them directly, they'll likely deny it. If you tell others, they might say you're overthinking things. So instead, you keep questioning yourself, wondering if you're imagining things or if there's really something lurking beneath the surface. But here's the truth. People don't always say what they feel. And according to the wisdom of the Stoics, you don't need them to. Their actions, their patterns, the subtle shifts in their energy, these reveal far more than their words ever could. The Stoics, known for their deep understanding of human nature, believed that if you observe carefully, people will always tell you who they really are, whether they mean to or not. So how do you recognize it? How do you know if someone close to you secretly resents you, envies you, or even hates you while pretending to be on your side? You learn to read the signs. Because no matter how well someone hides their true feelings, their behavior will always betray them in small, almost imperceptible ways. A sarcastic joke, a forced smile, a moment of hesitation before they congratulate you. These things may seem trivial on their own, but when you put them together, they paint a clear picture, and that's exactly what we're going to uncover. The 7 undeniable signs that someone close to you secretly hates you, as understood through the lens of Stoic wisdom. By the end of this, you won't have to second-guess yourself anymore. You'll know exactly what to look for, and more importantly, you'll know how to handle it with the grace and emotional control of a true Stoic. Sign 1. Their compliments feel fake or backhanded. Not all insults sound like insults. Sometimes they come disguised as compliments, wrapped in just enough sweetness to make you second-guess whether you're being praised or subtly put down. If someone secretly dislikes you but doesn't want to show it outright, they won't openly attack you. Instead, they'll lace their words with just enough poison to make you feel uneasy while still maintaining plausible deniability. A real compliment should feel simple and sincere. "You did a great job on this," or "I really admire your work ethic." But when someone secretly resents you, their compliments tend to have a hidden jab. "Wow, you actually pulled it off. I never expected you to do that well. You're pretty smart for once." There's always a little sting, a small way of reminding you that they don't truly believe in your abilities. Stoicism teaches us to judge people not by their words, but by the intent behind them. Marcus Aurelius famously advised, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." In other words, people's real thoughts and feelings inevitably seep into their actions, no matter how much they try to hide them. A person who secretly dislikes you might smile while they speak, but if you pay close attention, their tone, their word choice, and even the slight hesitation before they speak will reveal the truth. One of the biggest red flags is when their compliments feel forced. Have you ever shared good news with someone, only to receive a delayed or half-hearted "oh"? You can feel that they don't really mean it, that they're saying it because they have to, not because they want to. Real support is instant and natural. There's no hesitation, no searching for words. If someone truly likes you, they'll celebrate your wins with you, not act like they're trying to swallow their disappointment. So how should you handle this? The Stoic approach is simple. Don't rely on validation from others, and don't let insincere praise affect you. Epictetus reminds us that we have no control over other people's opinions. We only control our reactions. If someone gives you a backhanded compliment, don't engage with it, don't defend yourself, and don't try to make them like you. A fake compliment has no power unless you let it. Instead, observe, take note, and adjust your expectations of that person accordingly. Sign 2. They enjoy your struggles, even subtly. A true friend or supporter feels your victories and losses with you. They celebrate when you rise and offer a hand when you fall. But someone who secretly dislikes you, they might smile at your successes, but deep down, they're hoping for your downfall. They won't necessarily sabotage you outright, but they'll take quiet pleasure in your setbacks, even if they pretend otherwise. It's not always obvious. Most people won't openly laugh in your face when you fail. That would be too obvious, too easy to call out. Instead, their reaction will be subtle, almost imperceptible. A slight smirk when you tell them about a mistake, a passive, "Well, what did you expect?" When something goes wrong, they might even fake concern, but their words will feel empty, like they're just going through the motions. One of the clearest signs is when they seem unusually interested in your failures, but indifferent to your successes. They'll be the first to ask, "Hey, what happened with that project? Did it not work out?" But when you finally succeed, they'll go quiet. They'll never ask for details when things are going well. But the moment you hit a rough patch, they're all ears. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, warned about the dangers of envy and resentment. He wrote, "It is the quality of a great soul to scorn great things, and to prefer that which is moderate to that which is excessive. But a small-minded person, they live for it." So what do you do when you notice someone quietly celebrating your failures? The Stoic response is to not give them the reaction they want. Do not seek their sympathy. Do not share your struggles with them. And most importantly, do not let their quiet enjoyment of your pain affect you. The best way to handle someone like this is to remain unshaken, treat both success and failure with the same level of emotional control. If they expect you to be devastated, show them resilience. If they're waiting for you to complain, stay silent and focused. The less you feed into their expectations, the less power they have over you. Because at the end of the day, the greatest revenge against someone who secretly resents you is to succeed calmly, quietly, and without seeking their approval. Sign 3. They make jokes that don't feel like jokes. Humor is a powerful tool. It can bring people together, lighten difficult situations, and create lasting bonds. But it can also be a weapon, a way for someone to say what they really think without taking responsibility for it. When someone secretly dislikes you, they might not confront you directly, but their true feelings will slip out through sarcasm, passive-aggressive humor, and so-called jokes that feel more like thinly veiled insults. Have you ever had someone make a comment about you, then immediately follow it up with "Relax, I was just joking"? That's a classic move. It's an easy way for them to get their real opinion out there while maintaining plausible deniability. If you call them out, they'll act like you're the one who can't take a joke. They'll make you feel like you're overreacting, when in reality, they're just hiding behind humor to get away with saying something cruel. Stoicism teaches us that words have meaning, and no one says things by accident. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "The things you think about determine the quality of your mind." If someone constantly makes cutting jokes about you, those aren't just random words, they're reflections of their true thoughts. Pay attention to patterns. One joke might be harmless, But if you notice that their humor always seems to put you down, embarrass you, or make you feel small, it's not a coincidence. The real test. See how they react when the tables are turned. If they constantly joke at your expense but get defensive or irritated when someone jokes about them, that's a major red flag. It means their jokes were never about fun. They were about control. A person who secretly dislikes you enjoys having the upper hand, and humor is one of the safest ways for them to maintain that position without exposing themselves too much. So how should you handle it? The Stoic approach is to remain indifferent. Don't get flustered, don't react emotionally, and certainly don't try to out-joke them to prove a point. Instead, use calm, direct responses. If they make a passive-aggressive joke, just look at them and say, "I don't get it." "What do you mean?" Make them explain. Most people who use humor as a weapon don't want to be called out, they want to get away with it. By refusing to play along, you take their power away. And if the pattern continues, don't waste your energy. Stoicism teaches us that our peace of mind is more valuable than winning small battles. If someone constantly uses humor to undermine you, don't entertain it. Either disengage from the conversation or, if necessary, distance yourself from that person entirely. Sign 4. They undermine you in front of others. A person who secretly dislikes you will often find subtle ways to make you look bad, especially in public. They won't outright attack you, that would be too obvious. Instead, they'll undermine you in ways that seem small on the surface but add up over time. A slight correction here, an exaggerated story about one of your mistakes there. A moment of hesitation before agreeing with something you say. It's all part of the same game, making you seem weaker, less competent, and less valuable in the eyes of others. This behavior can take many forms. Maybe they interrupt you mid-sentence in group conversations, as if your words aren't worth hearing. Maybe they correct minor details in your stories, not because it actually matters, but just to make you seem unreliable. Or maybe they accidentally forget to mention your contributions in a project, subtly taking credit for your ideas while making you feel invisible. The worst part, if you call them out, they'll act like you're making a big deal out of nothing. "Wow, I was just clarifying," they'll say, or "I didn't mean anything by it." And in many cases, people around you might not even notice what's happening. That's because it's rarely about one big moment. It's about a series of small, calculated actions that gradually chip away at your confidence and reputation. Stoic wisdom tells us that people's true nature is revealed through their consistent behavior. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." If someone constantly undermines you, don't waste energy trying to make them stop. Instead, recognize it for what it is and adjust your approach accordingly. So what can you do? First, don't react emotionally. That's what they want. If they correct you in public, don't get defensive, just acknowledge it and move on. If they try to take credit for your work, calmly and confidently assert yourself, but don't fall into the trap of fighting for recognition. The more unaffected you seem, the more frustrated they'll become, because their goal is to get under your skin. Second, pay attention to how others react. Sometimes, when someone consistently undermines you, other people start to notice, even if they don't say anything. The best way to counteract this behavior isn't to fight it head-on, but to remain steady, competent, and unshaken. Let your actions speak louder than their attempts to discredit you. If you stay focused, people will see your true character over time, and no amount of subtle sabotage can take that away from you. And finally, know when to walk away. If someone is constantly undermining you, they are not your friend. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control, and one of those things is who we choose to surround ourselves with. If someone makes a habit of trying to diminish you, stop giving them access to your energy. Distance yourself, disengage from their games, and invest your time in people who uplift rather than tear down. At the end of the day, the best response to someone who tries to make you feel small is to rise above them without ever needing their approval. Sign 5. They're only around when they need something. Have you ever noticed that some people only show up when it benefits them? When everything is going well for you, they're distant. But the moment they need a favor, suddenly they're your best friend. They call, they text, they act friendly, but deep down, you know it's not about you. It's about what you can offer. A person who secretly dislikes you might not avoid you entirely, but their interactions will always be transactional. They may ask for advice, a connection, a favor, or even emotional support when they're struggling. But when the roles are reversed, silence. They disappear when you need something, and even if they do help, it feels reluctant, like they're doing it out of obligation, not genuine care. The Stoics believed in reciprocity and mutual respect in relationships. Seneca once wrote, "There is no enjoying the possession of anything valuable unless one has someone to share it with." In true friendships, both people give and receive. There's a balance. But when someone secretly dislikes you, that balance is missing. They take, but they rarely give. One of the clearest signs of this is inconsistency. Pay attention to how often they reach out. If the only time you hear from them is when they need something, that's not friendship, that's convenience. A real friend checks in when things are going well, not just when they have a request. Another red flag. They disappear the moment you set a boundary. If you say no to a favor, and suddenly they act distant or cold, that tells you everything. It means they weren't really there for you. They were there for what they could get. A real friend will respect your limits. A fake one will move on to their next target. So how should you handle this? The Stoic response is detachment. Epictetus teaches us that we shouldn't be upset by the actions of others, only by our own reactions. If someone is only in your life for their own benefit, don't take it personally. Recognize it. Adjust your expectations and stop overextending yourself. You don't have to cut them off entirely, but you do need to stop making yourself available for one-sided relationships. Give to those who give back. Invest in relationships that are built on genuine care, not convenience. And most importantly, don't let people guilt you into being a resource for them when they would never do the same for you. Sign 6. They subtly isolate you or avoid you. When someone secretly dislikes you, they might not come out and say it, but they'll show it through avoidance and exclusion. Maybe they start responding to your messages less. Maybe you notice that they've been spending time with mutual friends, but somehow you're never invited. Avoidance is one of the most telling signs of hidden resentment. A person who secretly dislikes you won't always be openly rude. They'll just make sure to keep their distance whenever possible. The problem is, they won't admit it. If you ask, they'll have a list of excuses. "Oh, I've just been swamped with work. I meant to call you, I've just been so distracted. It was a last-minute thing, that's why I didn't invite you." Sometimes, this kind of distancing happens subtly, over time. At first, they're warm and engaged. Then gradually, they start replying with one-word answers. The enthusiasm disappears from their voice. Plans that used to happen effortlessly suddenly become difficult to arrange. They stop sharing things with you. Their presence fades, but never in a way that's obvious enough for you to call it out. Stoicism teaches us to focus on actions, not words. Marcus Aurelius advised, "Never esteem anything as an advantage to you that will make you break your word or lose your self-respect. Don't cling to their words or their past actions. Judge them by their present choices." Another sign: they exclude you from things, but still act like they're your friend. Have you ever seen a group of friends hanging out on social media, only to realize you weren't invited? And then when you ask about it, they downplay it. "Oh, it wasn't a big deal. I thought you were busy." They want to keep you just close enough that they don't look like the bad guy, but not close enough that they actually have to spend time with you. So, what should you do? The Stoic response is acceptance without attachment. If someone is avoiding you, don't chase them. If someone is excluding you, don't beg for inclusion. Let them go, gracefully and without resentment. Epictetus reminds us, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." In other words, let people think whatever they want. Don't waste your energy trying to prove your worth to someone who is already looking for reasons to push you away. Instead, focus on those who value your presence. Surround yourself with people who genuinely enjoy your company, not those who keep you around out of obligation or convenience. Because at the end of the day, real connections don't require you to beg for attention. Sign 7. They show passive-aggressive behavior instead of being honest. Some people don't have the courage to be direct. Instead of openly expressing their frustration, resentment, or dislike, they communicate it through passive-aggressive behavior. This can come in many forms: deliberate procrastination when you need their help, subtle digs disguised as advice, backhanded compliments, or a general attitude of hostility wrapped in politeness. Have you ever asked someone if they were upset, only to hear "I'm fine," but their body language, tone, and energy said the exact opposite? That's passive aggression at work. Their words are neutral, but their behavior carries an unmistakable tension. They take longer to respond to your messages. Their tone is colder than usual. They forget to follow through on things that matter to you. They act distant. But when you ask what's wrong, they insist that nothing is. The Stoics were masters at recognizing emotional games for what they were. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." This means that instead of getting caught up in people's manipulations, we should simply observe, acknowledge, and act accordingly. Passive-aggressive behavior is a sign of deep-seated resentment. Instead of communicating directly, they choose to punish you in subtle ways that are frustrating but not extreme enough for you to call out without looking overly sensitive. This is intentional. It allows them to maintain an appearance of civility while still expressing their dislike for you. One of the most frustrating aspects of dealing with a passive-aggressive person is that they rarely take responsibility for their actions. If you confront them, they'll gaslight you, saying things like, "I don't know what you're talking about. You're imagining things. Wow, you're really sensitive." They want you to doubt yourself, to question whether you're overreacting. And if you let them, they will make you feel like you're the problem. But the truth is, people who truly like and respect you don't need to play these games. If something is wrong, they communicate. They don't punish you with silent treatment, sarcasm, or passive hostility. So how should you handle this? The Stoic answer is simple. Don't engage with their games. If they refuse to communicate openly, that's their choice. But you don't have to participate in the tension. Stay calm, stay neutral, and don't let their attitude affect your emotions. If someone is constantly passive-aggressive toward you, distance yourself. Let them deal with their own bitterness while you move forward in peace. Conclusion: mastering Stoic wisdom for inner peace. At some point in life, You will come across people who secretly dislike you. They won't always say it outright, but their actions will betray their true feelings. Their compliments will feel hollow. They'll take quiet pleasure in your failures. Their jokes will have a sharp edge. They'll undermine you in public, only show up when they need something, and slowly push you away while pretending nothing has changed. And when confronted, they'll deny it all, making you question your own instincts. The Stoics teach us that the only thing we truly control is our own reaction. You can't force someone to be honest with you. You can't make someone like you, and you shouldn't waste your time trying. Instead of fighting for the approval of people who secretly resent you, accept reality as it is. If someone's behavior consistently shows you they don't respect or value you, believe them and adjust accordingly. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been. You can let them hurt you, or you can choose indifference. You can spend energy trying to fix the relationship, or you can walk away without regret. The power is in your hands. The greatest revenge against those who secretly resent you isn't confrontation, it's peace. It's thriving without their validation, growing without their approval, and moving forward without bitterness. In the end, the best way to respond to hidden hatred is with calm confidence, because nothing frustrates your enemies more than seeing you unbothered and successful.